The morning had already cost Marcus Webb everything it was going to cost him. Or so he thought. He'd been up since 4, ironing his only good shirt for a job interview that paid $12 an hour, packing his daughter Lily's lunch with the last of the peanut butter, dropping her at school with a kiss and a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. "We're going to be okay, baby," he told her, the way fathers do when they're terrified they're lying. Now he stood on the platform at Union Station in Chicago, 43 years old, calloused hands, quiet dignity, watching the 8:15 express grind to a stop, thinking about nothing except not being late. He almost didn't notice her. If you believe in kindness and second chances, hit that like button right now, drop a comment, share this with someone who needs it today, and subscribe to the Kindness channel. Tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? We want to know. She was standing too close to the edge. That was the first thing Marcus registered. Not her tailored charcoal blazer, not the leather briefcase worth more than his monthly rent, not the wireless earpiece still glowing blue in her ear. Just her feet, the pointed heels of expensive shoes, 2 inches from the yellow warning strip, and her body swaying in a way that had nothing to do with the wind coming off the train. Then she made a sound, not a word, not a scream, just a soft, broken exhale, like something inside her had simply given up, and she went down. The crowd parted in that horrible human way, backward, away, phones rising like periscopes. Marcus moved forward. He didn't decide to. His body just went, the way it had learned to when his daughter had her first febrile seizure at age 2, when his wife had collapsed in the kitchen 4 years ago and never come back up. His body knew what emergency looked like. He caught her before her head hit the concrete. Barely. She was slight. Couldn't have been more than 120 pounds despite the commanding presence she must have carried into every boardroom. She was maybe 40, dark-haired, olive skin gone gray, jaw slack. Marcus lowered her to the platform floor, 2 fingers already pressing into her neck, searching for a pulse he was terrified he wouldn't find. "She's not breathing!" he shouted over his shoulder. "Somebody call 911, now!" The pulse was there, faint, irregular, but there. Marcus had done CPR exactly once in his life, on his wife Diana, in their kitchen, with a 9-year-old Lily screaming from the doorway. It hadn't been enough that time. The paramedics said he'd done everything right. They said that for months afterward, and it never once made him feel better. But his hands still remembered. Muscle memory is a strange and faithful thing. He tilted her chin, checked her airway, began compressions. 30, firm and steady, the heel of his palm on her sternum, counting under his breath the way the EMT instructor had taught a room full of community center volunteers 6 years ago. A woman in a green coat knelt beside him, identified herself as a nurse, took over the rescue breaths. They fell into rhythm without speaking, 2 strangers performing something ancient and urgent. The paramedics arrived in 4 minutes. It felt like 40. As they loaded her onto the gurney, one of the medics grabbed Marcus by the arm. "You keep her with us, man. You did good." Marcus nodded. He looked at her face one more time, still unconscious, oxygen mask over her mouth now, color beginning to creep back into her cheeks. And something in his chest loosened, just slightly. Then he picked up his bag from the platform floor. And he walked away. He made his job interview with 6 minutes to spare. He didn't get the position. The hiring manager said they were looking for someone with more recent warehouse management experience, and Marcus shook the man's hand and thanked him and took the bus home in silence. He stopped at the dollar store, bought a juice box and a granola bar for Lily's after-school snack. Did not tell a single person what had happened that morning. Her name was Claire Soo, and she would not find out who saved her life for 11 days. Claire was the CEO of a mid-sized medical supply company she had spent 16 years building from a 2-person operation in her garage into a $40 million enterprise. She was also, as of the morning she collapsed on the Union Station platform, a woman who had been quietly dying in plain sight. Not from any single dramatic cause, but from the accumulation of a decade of ignored symptoms, skipped appointments, 80-hour weeks, and the particular kind of stubbornness that had made her successful and nearly killed her. The cardiologist called it hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a thickening of the heart muscle that had gone undetected and untreated for years. She had fainted before, once in a parking garage, once in her office bathroom. She'd told herself she was dehydrated. She woke in the ICU with her younger sister holding her hand and a doctor explaining very gently that she had experienced a sudden cardiac event. that she had been without a pulse for approximately 90 seconds, and that a bystander on the platform had performed CPR until emergency services arrived. "Who?" Claire asked. Her voice was barely there. "We don't know," her sister said. "He left before anyone got his name." Claire had built a career on solving problems and finding answers. She was not accustomed to things remaining unknown. From her hospital bed, between echocardiograms and medication adjustments and tearful calls with her board of directors, she asked her assistant to pull the security footage from the station. She stared at the grainy image of a broad-shouldered black man in a pressed blue shirt, kneeling over her body with a focus that looked almost like prayer, and she felt something crack open behind her sternum that had nothing to do with her heart condition. She posted a message on the company's social media, quiet, personal, unlike anything she'd ever shared publicly, a description, a blue shirt, a platform, a request. It took the internet approximately 72 hours to find Marcus Webb. He was in the backyard with Lily when his phone started ringing with numbers he didn't recognize. She was 9 now, his daughter, and she was trying to teach him a clapping game she'd learned at school. And he was failing at it spectacularly, and she was laughing the way children laugh when parents are ridiculous and beloved simultaneously. His neighbor knocked on the fence. "Marcus, man, you need to look at your phone." He didn't want to. He looked. There were messages from strangers. There were news alerts. There was a voicemail from a number he didn't recognize. A woman's voice, still slightly raw at the edges, saying, "Mr. Webb, my name is Claire Soo. I think you know who I am. I would very much like to talk to you if you're willing. A pause. I want to say thank you. I know that sounds insufficient. I know it probably is, but I'd like to try." He stood in his backyard in the late afternoon light with Lily staring up at him, sensing the shift in the atmosphere the way children always do. "Daddy, what's wrong?" "Nothing, baby," he said, and this time he was pretty sure it was true. They met for coffee at a diner halfway between her office and his apartment. She arrived first and was startled to discover she was nervous. She who had presented to venture capitalists at 31, who had testified before a state commerce committee, who had negotiated contracts worth millions in rooms full of people who'd underestimated her. She was nervous about thanking a man properly. He came in quietly, no fanfare. Blue shirt again, she noticed. He sat down across from her and accepted coffee and looked at her with eyes that were kind and a little tired in the specific way of people who have carried hard things for a long time without complaining. She told him what the doctors had told her. She told him that 90 seconds without a pulse is a long time. She told him that she'd been running herself into the ground for a decade and that falling on a train platform in front of 200 strangers was perhaps the universe's way of communicating that she needed to stop. He listened. He didn't interrupt. When she finished, she asked him why he'd walked away. He was quiet for a moment. He turned his coffee cup in his hands. "I didn't do it for anything," he said finally. "I just did it because it needed doing, and then I had somewhere to be." She found out about the interview. She found out about Lily. She found out that Diana had died 4 years ago and that Marcus had been keeping himself and his daughter upright through a combination of part-time work, stubbornness, and love. She found out that he had a background in logistics and operations that her company, as it happened, genuinely needed. She offered him a job. He thought she was being charitable. She showed him the job description, which had been posted on their website for 6 weeks with no qualified applicants. "I'm not doing this because you saved my life," she said clearly. "I'm doing this because you're qualified and you showed up and you clearly don't run from hard things." She paused. "But also because you saved my life," he laughed. It surprised him, that laugh. It came up from somewhere that had been quiet for a while. He took the job. Lily learned about it over dinner that night, pasta, the good kind with garlic bread. And she asked her father to explain it again from the beginning, the whole story, and he did, quietly, leaving out the parts that were still too tender to say out loud. When he finished, she was quiet for a moment in the particular way she had that reminded him so much of Diana it sometimes made it hard to breathe. "So you saved her," Lily said, "and then you just left. I had to get to my interview." She considered this with the gravity of a 9-year-old who has been forced to grow wise too soon. "Daddy," she said, "you're kind of the best person I know." He reached across the table and covered her small hand with his large one. Outside, Chicago was doing what Chicago does, loud and cold and relentless and beautiful. Inside, something that had been braced for impact for 4 years slowly, carefully, began to rest. Some mornings cost you everything, and some mornings give it back in ways you never thought to expect. Kindness doesn't calculate. It doesn't ask whether the timing is right or whether anyone is watching or whether there's something in it for you. It just kneels down on a cold platform and does what needs doing. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, the world notices and finds its way back to you. If this story moved you, please like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that goodness still exists. Subscribe to the Kindness channel, because stories like this one deserve to be heard. And we want to keep telling them. For you, for all of us.